Hello class, this is the instructions for how to make wood round yarn trees. They look like this. I'm going to show you how to make them from start to finish, starting with your pre-drilled wood block. So the first step is to get your supplies. You're going to need your yarn. You have green, white, and red. You can pick which color you want. You don't need to use all the colors. You can do a single colored tree, or I'll show you how to make a multicolored tree on this one. And you need your needle. Your needle is found in this baggie with all these supplies. I took it out. It looks like this. It's not a real needle, it's just some wire that I folded over for you already that fits through the holes. So, you also need a pencil and your wood round. So on your wood round, the first thing you need to do is locate the hole that I circled in red. That is the top of your tree. We are going to draw a tree shape on here that will help us know where to go, what the pattern is. So from this top wood round, you connect to the outside circles below. Then you connect inward like you're making a little triangle, but do not connect the middle piece. So see how it kind of looks like a big triangle, but the middle is not connected here. Then from these inside circles, you go all the way to the outside again. Make your little lines across like triangle. And keep following that pattern. Inside circle connects to the outside circle below, and then a horizontal line across. Inside circle connects to the outside circle below, then a horizontal line across. So that is our tree shape. And then at the bottom, we have our stump. So for the stump, you draw your vertical lines and a horizontal line across the bottom. So this is our overall tree shape. You need to have this before you get started because it will really help know where to put each of the lines. Next, you need to select your string. It looks blue in this video, I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna pick the green string and I'm gonna string it onto my needle. And so to do that, I need to put it through the hole, and you just pull a little bit through. You don't want to pull half or anything, just a little tail. And I like to put it through twice, just because it holds a little bit better, but you don't have to. So you can see I've wrapped it through twice, but once is really fine, as long as you're pretty gentle with it. It might come out once or twice, but you can always string it back. So we're gonna start with making this bottom tree trunk right here. I'm gonna come up through one of the holes. It doesn't really matter what hole you start in, but you do want to come up from the bottom. The pattern is always come up through the bottom and then down through the top. So I come up through the bottom. Oh, my string's not connected. So I'm coming up through the bottom. You have really long pieces of string. I've done this a couple times in practice, so my strings are kind of short. And I leave a little bit of a tail on the back side. We're going to use that to tie it off. Then I'm going to go down through the top. And notice I've gone to the other hole on the other side of this line. So you always want to do the line pairs, the two holes on the either side of a line. So see how I've made this bottom string. So I want to now tie it on the back. So to do that, I'm going to cross them over and tuck the little tail underneath and then pull. So let me show that one more time. I have the two parts separate. I cross them. I basically switch which hand is holding which. So I've made a little cross. And then I tuck the tail part underneath through the little bottom of the X and pull it through. The same way you do on like a shoelace. Let's do that again. Cross them over. It makes like a little hole down here. Tuck the tail part under and through. So I've made a double knot. This is really strong. my string isn't coming out, I can even lift up my piece of wood by it. I don't need to, but I could. So now I'm back on my tree side. So every time I want to make a new line on the front side, my pretty side, I come up from the bottom at the end of one of my holes. So I want to make this line next. So to make this line, I'm going to go to the empty hole and I'm going to go up through there. And by the holes, I mean the two at the end of the line. So come up through my hole here. You can do that by pulling the needle through. So I'm coming up through the hole at one end of the line, and then I'm going to go down through the hole at the other end of the line. And when I do that, it'll basically use yarn to trace right over top. So let me show you again. I'm going to make this line right here. So I'm going to come up through this hole from the bottom and then go down through this hole from the top. Come up through this hole and down through the other one. And I'll just keep going. I'm going to make this line next. So I'm going to come up through this hole from the bottom and go down through this one from the top. And some of you had a really cute idea that I think I'm going to copy. They did green on the bottom and then white string on the top to make kind of a snow-covered tree, and I really liked that, so I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to keep going. I want to make this line next. I'm going to go up through the bottom, if I can find the hole, at one end of the line segment, and down through the top at the other end. So I think I'm going to leave this top part to be covered in snow, and I'm going to go to the other side. And you can really move wherever you want. So I'm going to make this line next over here. I'm going to come up through the bottom and then go down through the top. Just connecting either end of the line. I'm going to do this side, up through the bottom. And if you ever need to go back, you can go back and see how I did things. That's the beauty of video. You can always rewind or rewatch. Maybe you got stuck on the knot tying part. I know some kids were having trouble with that, knowing exactly what I'm doing with my needle. Up through the bottom, down through the top. We're just about to get to the part where I'm going to change colors. So I'm going to go up through the bottom and down through the top. So now I have all the, it looks like blue to you, but it's green in real life. I have all the green that I want. So I'm going to flip it over and tie my knot on the back and then cut off my excess string. So on the back side, there's two options. I can either tie it to the little tail from the beginning, or if that's too far away, I can show you the second option. You take your needle, let me zoom in a little bit. You take your needle and you stick it underneath one of the threads. Doesn't matter which one really. And then you pull it through and you pull most of your yarn through until you have this little loop. You want to stick the needle back through the little loop. And if you give that a pull, it will make a knot. Let me show you that again because you need to do it twice. So I stick my needle underneath a string and I pull it most of the way through, and you can always watch this multiple times before giving it a try, till I get a loop. So I've just gone under the string, pulled it most of the way through to get this loop, then I stick my needle through the loop and pull it tight. And so that'll make a double knot. If you're not sure about it, you can do it one more time and it should be super secure. And we'll be ready to cut off the yarn. So I'm happy with my tree so far. I'm going to cut off my yarn and switch colors. So I'll show you again how to attach the yarn. So once I've cut it off, I just pull it out of the needle. So I'm switching to white. So I find one end of my white yarn so I can have a nice snowy topped tree. So I'm going to put the white yarn through my needle, and I just like to do it twice. You don't have to. I have one little tail end sticking out, but most of my yarn is on the other side of the needle. I do it twice because it holds a little bit better. I just literally put it right back through the needle, makes a little loop, pull it tight, and it just holds a little bit better. Always start on the bottom. So we're always going to start by going up through the bottom. I want to do this line first, maybe. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to pick one side of the line, either hole. I'll start with this hole. Gonna go up from the bottom. Gonna pull it most of the way through, but I want to leave a little tail for tying off, just like I did in the beginning. So I'm pulling it most of the way through, but I'm leaving a little tail. And I'm covering up this line, so I go to the other side of the line, put my needle through to the bottom. And sometimes it gets stuck on the wood and you can just unstick it a little bit. Give it a little tug. Oops, it got stuck again. Give it a little tug till it lies flat. So now I can turn it over and I can do my shoe tying knot again. I basically cross it over. Remember, you have the two hands. Switch which yarn is in which hand. Then take the little piece, tuck it underneath. I'm going to do that twice. It's the same way you tie your shoe, the beginning of tying your shoes. Switch which yarn is in which hand, and then tuck it underneath. Okay, so now I have it tied on, I have it secured, I've tied it twice, and I can keep going with my lines. So always come up from underneath, at one end of the line, and go down from the bottom, or from the top. The only thing that won't work is if I try and come out of the hole that I just went into, because that'll basically unstring it. I'll show you what you mean. I just went down into this hole, and if I come back up out of that same hole, it basically undoes my last little line. So you want to make sure you never come back up out of the same hole you just went down on. If that makes sense. And if it happens, you can always just restring it like I am right now. And remember, these are for fun, they're for decoration. You can give them as gifts, but they're not meant to stress you out. It isn't part of your grade. If they're becoming too frustrating, you're welcome to just not do it. I spent time making these and I wanted you to have a nice potential present or decoration, but I don't want to give you a headache or make you frustrated. That's not the goal. So if it's not turning out right and you're not having it, normally I would just help you in person in class, but that's not really the case right now. So if this isn't for you, you don't have to do it. No one's going to make you. I'm not going to collect these when we come back to school. These are for you to keep. So if you want to end up recycling yours, that's totally fine. The wood can go in the green bin at your house. It doesn't need to go in the landfill. I believe the string would have to go into the landfill. It would have to go in the garbage. I don't think it can be recycled. So I'm still doing that same process, going up through the bottom, and you can always have an older sibling or a parent watch this video and help you with it, and then down through the top. Always up through the bottom first. And we're always just going at either end of the pencil line. So see here, I want to trace over this pencil line. So I came up through one end of the hole and down through the other. And some people were asking if this red circle was the one we finished on. And no, it was just so you knew where the top of the tree was. I realized that when I made these trees, with all the holes, it was really hard to tell how it would make a Christmas tree. So I just circled the top hole so you could get it oriented, so you could see which which part was the top of the tree. And so I'm approaching the end here, up through the bottom, down through the top, up through the bottom, down through the top. I tend to like to go up through the hole that doesn't have anything in it, just because it's a little bit easier to get my needle to go through there, and it makes sure that I didn't just come out of that hole. And if I start going down through the bottom without going up through the top, I want to show you what that would do to my thing. That would wrap the yarn around the tree like this, around the piece of log. So that's why we always come up through the bottom, so we don't get weird pieces of string coming out like that. If you do, not a big deal, just go up through the same hole and it'll undo it. It fixes it. So always come up through the bottom first at the end of the line, and then down through the top at the other end of the line. And your backside's going to be messy. That's okay. It's not a big deal. You can lean it up against a wall, hang it up. It's not a double-sided decoration, and it's definitely too heavy to be an ornament. This would not be a thing to hang on your tree necessarily. These pieces of wood are heavy. And so I'm getting to my last one. I go up through the bottom one last time, down through the top, and I know I'm on my last one because I have connected all of the lines. I've covered all the lines up. You can't see any more of my pencil marks. You just see my tree shape. So finally I can tie my knot on the back. You can tell this is definitely not a tree shape, but that's totally fine. I can either do my crisscross tie off with one of my loose pieces of string back here. Don't cut a string to make it a loose piece of string, because then you'll ruin the design on the front. Or if you don't have a long loose piece of string like that, you can do the method where you stick the needle underneath, and I'll show you that one more time. So I pick a loop, I stick the needle underneath, pull it most of the way through until I see a little loop of string forming like this. Then I stick my needle underneath the loop of string and I pull it tight. And so you want to do that 2 or 3 times. Put your needle underneath one of the lines of string. Keep pulling until you have a loop of string. I'll pull it so it's a little bit smaller like this, and stick your needle through the hole. One last time and then I'm done with this project. Stick the needle underneath. And through the loop of string. And once your knot is tied off and secured, you can cut off the string and your tree is finished and you have your finished decoration. You're welcome to use this as a Christmas present or put it up as a decoration. It is completely up to you. If you're having a lot of trouble on this and still want some help, you're welcome to come in at help time, or we could set up a time for you to come in at recess or something, and I'd be happy to help you with it.